Hello and welcome to Aquarium Dilemmas. I'm your host. I'm ScienceGal Aquatics. I'm Carrie, and this is my co-host,
Jesse, and welcome to another episode and another wonderful dilemma.
Yes, this week's topic, I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, but I wasn't really sure how to talk about it, so maybe you can help me. Maybe.
Why does it seem that fish are overlooked or not gravitated towards as a pet or in the hobby?
Yes, I feel like there's sometimes you go into the fish store and I'm looking around and someone comes through and they're like, I just don't want fish, or they're just a lot of hassle. Or
well, we've heard that before. We've heard that when we were going to pick up some extra supplies, just odds and ends things from the big box stores, obviously. And a parent would walk by with a child, and the child was looking at the fish, absolutely amazed, just enthralled by the fish, and was pointing and looking, and, Mom, I would like to have that. And the first thing out of her mouth is, that's too much work.
Yeah, no. And I've thought about this for a while, and I feel like there are some stigmas that if you don't keep fish and you're not aware, that you could 100% easily believe and just completely turn you off to the hobby before you even gave it a chance. And I think there are some stigmas that play into that.
Well, and I'm guilty of it. Until we were together and you started involving me in the hobby and we started working through this stuff together, and I made a bunch of mistakes. I just thought it was way too much. It was going to just take up too much room. It was going to be too much work, setup wise, everything else. And then once I learned and experienced a little more, I realized it wasn't that bad. The initial setup takes a little bit, but after that, everything just kind of goes downhill, and it's easier than even having a cat or a dog.
Yes, I think that initially, if you don't have anything, most people that's been in the hobby, including myself for a while, it seems like I can throw away things pretty easily. I'm not really attached to if they need to go. But there's something about fish stuff that I just hoard anything that I could possibly use in a fish tank. So I think that more experienced fish keepers usually have just naturally stuff lying around, and you can put together a tank with barely, if not any money involved. But if you have nothing, there are
starting from scratch,
there are some kits out there that might be a little bit more cost effective, but there are some initial startup costs. And I think there's more so in salt. I've gone brackish, but I think that salt water is a little bit more expensive than fresh. But overall, like you said, long term, I spend way more money and have way more stress involved when it comes to the cat and the 5 dogs we have, and
we'll speak from experience. We're gonna go against 20-something fish tanks. We'll just round the number to 24. We'll go against 24 fish tanks against 5 dogs and a cat. Yeah,
and even when I had just one fish aquarium for a long time, and I just had my one little dog, it was still, my little dog was more work and cost me a lot more money.
Oh.
Overall.
Well, the dog or cat, whatever, right out of the gate, you're taking it to the vet. That's a once a year at least. That animal has to go to the vet.
Yeah.
Yeah, shots, at least. All that good stuff. So, I mean, that right there is out of the gate. That's going to be your big expense every year for sure.
Yeah,
not including food, not including cleanup with a cat. You got the litter box. You got to have the litter box.
Well, even the rare occasion something goes wrong and it's it's not even just a normal not everyday, but yearly checkup. it's an extra like, oh my gosh moment. You got to rush them to the vet. The leashes, the training, the food. If you leave town, the dog sitters that you have to have, and they're hard to come by when you have 4 Shiba Inus and 1 long-haired Chihuahua. The long-haired Chihuahua is by far easier than those Shiba Inus. I tell you, I love them to death. They're the most adorable little puppies, and they're not even that. They're like medium size, but they have jumped the fence no matter how high. They're stressful because they sound when people come over and they don't know, they can be a little bit loud and intimidating. So with fish tanks, you just don't have, you can leave. The fish will be fine. You don't have to find, if you have a larger fish.
Most fish will be fine.
If you have a larger fish, you might have to find someone to come over and feed it. But just in my personal head, when I leave to go to the Aquashella events or something like that, I don't have the worry. We might occasionally, once in a blue moon, I guess you could say that we have a leak or something, but it wasn't even that bad. But when the dog jumped the fence and was roaming the neighborhood and was barking at everything, and my mom had to rush over 1 town over to come help, and the dog doesn't necessarily just come to you. I tell you, in those moments, I am very grateful to be a fish keeper because they are just, I love my fish tanks and I love my dogs and my other animals too. But the stress, just the overall stress, and not all bad stress. Some of it's just stress because I love them so much and I want them to be perfect. But it's just the fish tanks are easier.
Well, the arowana, we'll go with the biggest one. The arowana's never gotten out of his tank.
Don't say that because he's going to
jinx
now.
us. Well, I'm going to go with something that'll never happen. Got out of his tank, roamed around the neighborhood, barked at everybody.
Yeah.
And you had to find a way to get him back in.
Well, too, like, you don't have to take your fish on daily walks. You don't have to worry. Well, I can't say that because maybe if my mom comes over and feeds the arowana, she could get bit now. But generally, your fish don't bite people. You know, it's just, I think that a lot of people automatically assume if they don't keep fish tanks that they're high maintenance. They cost a lot of money forever. You're constantly having to do things. And a lot of time, having an aquarium is so relaxing. I can just come down here and just chill and kind of escape for a while from whatever. I can just watch even the silver arowana, kick back and just watch him he interacts. Like, you can bond with your fish. You might not have the emotional attachment as you do your dog or cat or whatever you choose to keep, but you still can get 100% bond and fall in love with the fish that you keep. And that silver arowana is a prime example. He might be a little cranky. He might stare me down for mealworms, but I tell you what, if something happened, gosh forbid nothing happens, but if something does, I will be completely devastated and will cry and will just be sad because we've learned, we've bonded, we've gotten to know each other.
He's my favorite angry fish.
Yes.
He really is. And he's not angry. I say angry as an emotion, but he's not angry. He is a very assertive fish.
Yes.
He enjoys his job as a predator. He would love you to feed him 24/7 a day. But he cruises up and down that tank, just gliding, just magical, slow and steady, always with a purpose, just looks absolutely magnificent.
Well, too, and when we've traveled, I've never kept a flower horn, but going to the Aquashella events like we've gone to numerous of them now. They are they come up and you can interact with them. They're like little puppy dogs just in the fish tank, and they're so unique looking. that you can't help but love them.
Well, that was like when we kept the freshwater lionfish.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that thing was, I say it endearing, was so ugly that it was absolutely the most cutest thing ever. It looked kind of
also
like,
known as a toadfish.
yeah, it looked like kind of like a frog, but oh my gosh, you can totally 100% fall in love with your fish that you keep. And you don't have sometimes, luckily with the dogs and the cats that I've kept in my lifetime, I've never had a point where I had a significant time where I had to slowly work up with a bond, if that makes sense. Sometimes there's that bonding time, even with a dog, where they don't, maybe you had got them from a shelter or something, and that takes some time. With a fish,
yeah, an adjustment period.
Yeah.
They fully trust you, or basically you understanding the dog and the dog
Yes.
understanding you.
The closest that I've come to that is when I adopted my long-haired Chihuahua. He was, I think, 10 months, if I remember right. But he was so young that it took a couple of hours, maybe, honestly, looking back at the most, than the instant. So there wasn't that long. And the same with fish. If you want to try having a pet, let's say this is your first pet, you go into the fish store and you want something that you can kind of interact with, because even with the guppies, they're small. You might not have the big personalities as some of the monster fish do. They have definite personalities, but the guppies will come up to the front of the glass, and sometimes even just having a fish tank after a hard day, having just a group of really cute, beautiful little guppies coming up to the glass.
All
and,
magnificent colors swimming up to the
swimming
glass.
up. That just kind of, you're like, for that moment, you're like, that's cute. And even with betta fishes, they have, from the fish and puffers too, they have very distinct personalities. And with the puffers, they 100% would come up to the front of the glass, and they have good eyesight too. They can spot you, and they start swimming up, and their little fins are going, and
their fins are going 100 miles an hour. They're little bitty old tiny fins,
that-
and so short, and they're as fast as they can go.
It's the most adorable thing ever, and I think that can be in its own way. You might not be able to scoop up that fish like our little Pepe dog upstairs, but sometimes even that, just the fish coming up and you get to feed them and just take a minute, that's 100% rewarding.
Oh, absolutely.
And I 100% put human emotions on my fish. And I think that comes with even kind of taking a step back, even what the definition of a pet is, because I think everybody has their own way of doing everything. But going to the pet store, I think some people walking in view fish and aquatics as pets. And there's probably, I don't know the number, obviously, but I think there's a good chunk of people that when they walk in, they don't even view aquatic stuff as pets. I think they walk right past it.
It's more like a hobby, like collecting baseball cards or something.
They think, oh, that's not a real pet, because you can't take care of it like a dog or a cat. You don't get, like I said, the emotional attachment. You can't take care of it and love it like a dog or cat, if that makes sense. I feel like that's kind of, and I 100% disagree. I think you can they might not love you in the sense of how we define love, but there's fish out there, like flower horns, that I think do grow to know you and are excited to generally come up to see you.
I consider it a pet as far as the fact it's in that glass box and you have to feed it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, obviously, it's not going to survive.
Well, most living things have to eat.
You are in charge of that particular animal's life, whether it be a fish, a dog, a cat, a bird, doesn't matter. And whatever's in your eyes as a pet. Mm-hmm. Fish are no difference. Once you put it in that glass box, you're in charge of its life and to try to give it the best life you can.
Yeah, and even kind of a side topic, I think there's some people that do, and I don't know, I can't tell people's that I don't know, but I feel like there are some fish keepers, like I was in the beginning with my goldfish, that I wanted to keep fish. I loved my fish, but I was 100% harming them because I had them in too small of a tank and heated. So I wanted to be a fish keeper. I wanted to keep these fish, and I thought 100% I was doing the right thing. But I kept losing various fish along the way because I didn't know any better. And it kind of defeated me, but I wanted to keep going and learn from my mistakes, but it took me mistakes before I could learn and figure it out. And I think that the whole process sometimes, to someone walking into the fish store or whatever store that you can buy fish from, and it's their first time, and I
think it's overwhelming.
Yeah,
really, it's overwhelming.
Really intimidating because there's a lot. Even with knowing nothing, I knew that water chemistry or water parameters or whatever, and if you just mention the word chemistry to, I think, maybe half the population, they might say just, nope, chemistry, nope. And knowing a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of biology, a little bit of these things that are sciencey, for the lack of a better term, can just instantly be intimidating. And it was intimidating.
And it pushes people away. It does. Because it's the fear of the unknown, which I am 100% that way until you introduced me to this. But that's what it is. The fear of the unknown and the initial setup of having to buy a tank, and no one really tells you, and there's not a guide out there really of, well, this filter would be better for this tank.
Well, there are probably now with the internet, but when I was a kid and I first started fish keeping, we had a local fish store that only sold fish. They didn't have kits or aquariums for sale. So I had to go to Walmart, buy my 10-gallon kit that had, I thought it was cool because it had a light on it. And I got my fish flakes. And then I went just down the block and I got my fish and I put them in the tank the same day and they passed away. So then I went back to the fish store and she helped me pick out some, and we did it again and again and again. And it was not until my ecology class in my undergrad college that I learned about the nitrogen cycle. I'm sure I learned about it in elementary school, but in elementary school, I didn't pay attention in school. In college, it's different. It cost me a lot more money, so I paid closer attention. But that's when I had my epiphany about the nitrogen cycle, and I realized that there is this whole other world in fish, and it led me down to, and I'm so thankful because it led me to the community on YouTube. And that's a big thing that I was, like you said, there's no one really told me. I was in my own little box. The only other fish keeper I knew was my dad, and he was the same. We had the same skills because he told me. So
you were on the same level.
Like we thought, we didn't even know what a cycle. Like I didn't know what a cycled tank. I didn't even know that terminology. I looked for algae on the glass. First, I had the bubbles on the glass. Then I let it set for a while. Once I got a little bit, this is my knowledge. I looked for algae on the glass. And once I saw specks of algae on the glass, that's when I learned to put my fish in. But before that, when it was my first setup on by myself, I would just keep putting fish, go back and go to the fish store. And my dad got to see new fish. The lady got to make some profit. And no, like you said, no one told me. And I was in this little box. And I don't think that you should listen to everybody that you meet to give you advice, because you will get a lot of different advice that will confuse you. But maybe pick a handful of people on YouTube, or join your fish club, or get some magazines, or however you want to do it.
However you choose to do it.
Find a little community that you trust, that you can bounce back and forth ideas, because my mind literally exploded with information once I opened the doors and realized there is a community besides me and my dad that kept fish.
Well, and I feel another thing that really throws everything off is when you go to the big box stores, they'll have the goldfish, they'll have all different types of fish, grammies, guppies, mollies, platies.
Yeah.
You go, the list is endless. On and on. And they just put beginner, moderate, or expert.
Yes.
A goldfish can be an expert level fish depending on what goldfish you hit.
Well, anything can be.
It is not necessarily a beginner fish, again, because you kept goldfish. And I'm sure at that time they just said, "Oh yeah, it's easy here. Have a goldfish."
Well, I know.
Well, and they didn't tell you anything about the water parameters. Didn't tell you anything. It just said, "Oh, it's easy. Here you go. Here you go. Take it."
Well, I know.
Have a goldfish.
Talking to my sister recently, she's had some friends that kind of recently got into fish keeping, and I can't remember what tank they have. I assume it's something small, but I can't remember. But you just always hear first-time fish keepers in my world. I always hear them, well, the fish always just die. You just go to the fish store and they just always die. And I think it goes into what you're saying is there's not a lot of information. That's just, you walk in and maybe there's a big poster of the nitrogen cycle. I feel it's more of a smaller, locally owned type pet store that might have a nitrogen cycle, and I could be wrong. That's just me assuming things. But you don't see helpful tips because they want you to come back and spend money.
Yeah, and it's a very generic based deal. It just says basically beginner, moderate, expert. Whereas some of the ones they have expert on, I go, that's the easiest fish in here to keep.
Yeah. It just comes with the experience, but I feel going back to why fish might be overlooked, underrated. I feel like a lot of the stigmas are that, fish tanks are just high maintenance. The fish always die. The tank will leak inevitably and it'll ruin something. And I always think, well, I've had a tank leak. I have. I've had it spill on carpet and I've had it on like hardwood, laminate, whatever you want to. It's not real wood, but whatever. Laminate. But it didn't make a mess. Where my cat has scratched up my sofa and every curtain in my house. So yes, it may or may not happen. Have I had tanks since I was a kid and they held up for a while? I chose to reseal them because one, I wanted to practice and learn how to do it. And I felt it was a good decision. But there are some tanks that probably hold up better than others. But it's not something that I come down to the fish room and I just hear tanks a popping and bursting. And I feel like sometimes people think, I'm going to set up a big tank in my living room and it's just going to explode. Or I'm just going to go to the fish store and the fish are the kids are going to get attached to them for just long enough. Then they're going to pass away and then they're going to throw a fit. And I'm going to have to sneak to the pet store as soon as they fall asleep to secretly replace them. And like you said, the more information, and hopefully maybe with these podcasts, we can help further that. But if you can set up the initial cost of your fish tank, get it all set up, maybe it's your tank in your living room. And I guarantee you can go to a home decor store and pay 10 times for an decoration art piece. I've never shopped for art, but I hear it's really expensive. Then I can guarantee you that art piece is going to be far more expensive than a low-tech, maybe 40-gallon breeder that you can put in your living room and something you're proud of. The fish are really colorful and beautiful, and it's even better because it's live nature in action. You've got beautiful...
What's a live environment
Yes.
in your house that you can control as much as you want or as little as you want. And I believe that there is just a lot of misconception in the hobby because of the lack of information put out there for people that are even thinking about doing it.
Yeah, and how can it be high maintenance if you set up your tank, You're creative for a couple of hours. You get some stress relief from your phone for a while, away from whatever it is that's stressing you. You get to play in a tank, get it all set up, and then you just wait for a while. You don't have to do anything. Just sit and wait. Patience is really hard to learn, but that's a good, just sit back.
Well, and
let it cycle.
That could be the other thing. Everyone,
they want to rush into buying fish. Well, it's exciting.
And it's just society in general. Now everyone enjoys instant gratification.
Well, yes. And when you finally decide, I'm guilty of it, and I still impulse buy fish. But when you go to the store, and I think that's why sometimes people choose different animals over fish, because you decide you want a dog, you've put in your paperwork, you're approved, however you get to adopt.
But it's
animals.
still an impulse buy. You're doing it right then.
But then there's no wait time.
Yes.
You get to cuddle that dog, you get to cuddle that cat. You don't have to wait a month to get your pet after you buy a doggy bed.
True.
But my point is, I think a lot of people assume tanks are really high maintenance. You're constantly having to clean it. Otherwise, it's going to stink. If you don't constantly clean it, it's going to your whole house is going to smell like a fish tank. Well, if you learn the reasons behind why you maintenance your tank, a fish tank shouldn't smell. A healthy, balanced, beautiful tank, you're not going to walk in and be like, oh, you have a fish tank, don't you? Where sometimes you can walk in, and I don't want to sound rude, and we have a lot of animals, so that's probably what's saying about you walk in, you're like, oh, you have a cat, don't you? And so it's just another reason why I think it's just a benefit to having tanks, because I love my cat. I love it. But I don't like cleaning the litter box. That's why you do it, because I hate it so much. I might have to gravel vac my aquarium, but I can use that water. It benefits my garden. I'm not wasting the water, and I'm not like, oh my God, this cat. Like I said, I love that cat to death.
And if you check out some of the other episodes, if you're not overfeeding, that water never spoils.
Well, again, and that goes into...
And that water change, you never spoil. The water is never spoiled.
But that goes into education, too, when it comes to keeping aquariums, because, again, I was guilty of it. I thought you had to feed a fish every time they looked at you. I didn't know that the rotten food at the bottom was good. Just get a pleco or a snail. They'll clean it up. They eat that stuff. I didn't know that, yes, they might be bottom feeders. They might be a great part of the cleanup crew, but they still need to be fed like a normal, regular animal. They have their own needs.
And they make waste too.
They might need driftwood to rasp on. They might, they have their own needs. Is it a high maintenance animal? I think, in a sense, because they have a higher bioload, maybe compared to a guppy, but depending on your tank setup and everything else. But still, the point, cleaning up after my pleco does not make me as grossed out as cleaning up the litter box.
After your cat, yes.
But again, it all comes down to education. If you know why you shouldn't overfeed, then you won't overfeed your fish tank. You'll feed it the way that, depending if it's a monster fish or a guppy, or if you just keep shrimp, you'll understand better the reasons why, because you had the education to tell you that, whether it's this podcast or someone else you've talked to. Same with why you don't want to add fish immediately. Is there ways to jumpstart a cycle and keep it, like, kick it into high gear where you don't have to wait a month? Yes. But do you need another tank already set up and established to jumpstart?
Absolutely, you do.
There's products on the market that 100% help you, but I feel, in my personal ways of doing things, I like to use something from an already established tank to kickstart it. I still like to wait a day, but that's why I know why that seed, it's helping my bacteria colonize, my nitrifying bacteria to jumpstart, to help my nitrogen, like, to get it going. But if I'm just beginning fish keeping, it's my first tank, I'm going to set it up that day. I add fish, they die, I go buy another batch, they come home or they get ick or whatever it may be, and I don't know how to treat it. They all die. Then I go get something else and something happens. I'm not saying in every case, but those occasions where that scenario plays out, they're probably not going to stay in the hobby long, and they're going to move on maybe to something else. And I just hope that maybe this podcast gets out there and helps educate to understand why we do some of the things we do. So maybe fish can't be underrated so much. I'm surprised to know that I think I read they're like the third most popular pet to keep, which I was still surprised at. But around here in our area, keeping fish tanks, you still get, why fish? Like, why? Why do you do that? You know? So I feel around here, they are severely underrated. Not a lot of people keep them. And the reasons I hear is they're just a lot of work. The fish are always sick.
A lot of money.
And it's a lot of money. And overall, my fish tanks do not cause me the stress that the other animals do. I still love them. I'm going to keep them forever. But
it's just a lot of misinformation. In my opinion, it's a lot of very misinformation and generalized, even though I love to generalize everything. Everyone that listens to any of these podcasts will know this. I generalize everything. However, when you go to the big box stores or anywhere, everything is just kind of compartmentalized.
Yeah.
And
it's broken up in sections for sure.
And you know nothing. There's no real information there.
Yeah, because they want you to come back and buy more. I get why it's like that. Do I agree? No, but I'm not invested in a pet store.
And I feel it drives people that are thinking about maybe trying it for their children or themselves to enjoy the hobby. It drives them away because there's just enough information there, but not enough to know what you're doing. So you kind of pull back. You're like, oh, well, it's a good idea, but it's going to cost a little bit in the beginning, and I really don't know what I'm doing, so I'll go over here and I'll get a lizard, or I'll get a snail, or whatever, something else, anything but a fish.
Yeah, I usually just, in my mind, I just feel like people, and it's true, just adopt dogs and cats more than setting up fish tanks. But I was surprised to learn that they were as popular around the country, I guess. I think they said like 12% of the population, but I could be wrong. But that still surprised me. But I'm just, in my life, there's not a lot of fish keepers that are close that I can be like, hey, come over and come hang out and let's do fish things, you know. But there's a lot of benefits to keeping fish tanks. And especially for me personally, it comes down to my anxiety and my stress. I can come down here and pedal in a fish tank and try to aquascape over here, or feed the fish over here, or just watch them honestly swim around. And in that moment, I can kind of, especially when I'm trying to aquascape or even do maintenance, it makes me think about one thing at a time instead of trying to think about all 25 things I need to do at the exact same second. So when
slow down and do one task at a time.
I'm busy doing something, I'm working on a project, it helps me just kind of zero in, and I'm like, I can do things it just helps with my anxiety, even talking about it. If you have anxiety, you understand, and fish tanks do that. And I know my dad has a brain injury, and since we've set up a tank for him, it just gives him something besides he can't move around a lot. So I know
it's very calming and relaxing for him.
Can he do the maintenance on the tank physically? No. Does my mom and me and you help him out? Yes. But for his I would say, mental well-being since we set him up that tank. He calls me and is excited about, like, Mom went to get him a new snail, and that was, like, the best thing ever. And it gives him something to kind of look forward to and be excited about when I feel like he can't, he's kind of stuck to a chair most of the time. And it just gave him something to look forward to and makes him excited to watch and talk about. Like, we talked about lights for a while, and we got to bond over that some more, and it's healthy for him to keep that aquarium.
Well, there's a lot of things to bond over in the hobby because it's not even just the fish. Mm-hmm. You can have just a few fish in a very large aquarium. Mm-hmm. If you enjoy the aquascaping side of it or the plant side of it, the thing is endless, absolutely endless. All the plants you can purchase, learn about, just experiment with, work with substrates, what the plants even need. You can make an absolutely beautiful fish tank with just one or two fish in it, but a lot of live living plants, shrimp.
Yeah,
snails,
I'm all about the planted shrimp tanks.
Yeah, snails. I mean, there's so many things you can do.
Yeah, and even
the variety is endless and you can have that many different things all in that one box. It's not just one dog, one cat, or you got a cat and a dog.
Yeah, you can build a community. And like you said, with the dogs, sometimes you can only have maybe your particular species of animal that you like can't have another animal, or maybe you can, but I know our dogs don't usually get along with other dogs very well. They like each other. And with a fish tank, you're right. You can try, not all species are compatible, but you can have a very beautiful community fish tank with all different types of life in there that is just really exciting to watch.
Yeah, you can have a big community family tank of all kinds of things. Fish, shrimp, snails, plants.
Yeah.
I mean, it's endless list.
I find the sound, granted, there's filters out there that I have discovered that you do not hear. And my mom cannot stand the sound of the filters in a fish tank. Me and my dad don't mind it. I find the trickling sound of water I like the sound of water. I'm comforted by it. I just enjoy it. But my mom does not appreciate, we do not share that love together for the sound of a fish tank.
To one of you, it is soothing. The other one it's very aggravating.
Out of all of the things that could talk her out of owning a fish tank, it's the sound of the filter that no. Has she grown accustomed to a little, like the little bit, because I love the Tetra Whisper filters, and you can barely. I don't even honestly hear them at all. But my mom says there's still a sound, but there's a compromise there, and she doesn't mind it. Like I said, if you follow us on the live streams on YouTube on Sunday, she is all about going to the pet store now, and it's just been mind-boggling to have. My whole life, she liked animals, but she did not want to keep animals. And I wanted to keep everything. So for her to go shopping and pick out things has been very interesting to listen to, And for her to get excited to go pick out my dad a snail was, I tell you, the joy that came out of my soul. It was just, so the fact that there's advancements all the time in technology, and I'm sure that there's the aquarium world. We don't have these huge innovative ideas all the time. But the fact that was something that I found for her that was quieter, she didn't have to hear it. And she does not mind going to the fish store and picking up things just for the sheer fact that she does not have to hear that filter. Where to me, I don't mind it. It's not something that's going to discourage me. But something that small
can drive someone
away. And I'm glad that we came to a compromise. And my dad gets the benefits of a fish tank. I get to bond with my dad over fish stuff. And my mom is gradually opening up to the idea of buying fish, it's just so fantastic. So there's a lot of health benefits mentally and I'm sure physically with blood pressure, if you have less anxiety and you're less stressed, your blood pressure is going to be better.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so there's just, and with the kiddos too, it's a little piece of nature. They can see that, they can interact, they love to feed the fish. As they've gotten older, do they have gotten better not overfeeding, since we've taught them, like, don't dump the whole bottle of fish food in the 5-gallon tank, please, you know? But it's something that even with their mistakes, they're getting into the hobby. I can explain to them in that moment, hey, let's just do a little bit. Don't sneak down. Let's, you know, so it's just something that you can all bond and learn and be creative. You go pick out some plants and some substrate at the creek or something, or go to the pet store and get some plants, and you get excited to set it up, and then wait for it to cycle, and then go to the store and say, hey, while it's cycling, you can look at fish and see what you all like, and see if it's compatible, and work out a plan. And then you can have this really beautiful, literally, it's art. It's a beautifusly aquascape.
It's a living piece of art.
It might not be something that's like my scapes. They ain't going to win no aquascaping contest, I tell you that. But I am so proud of them. They're not, I wouldn't say they're not going to make a beautiful picture, but to me, I'm so proud. They look beautiful, and to me, it's an art piece, and it's natural. It's a piece of nature in my house that I get to take part of, and it's something that has introduced me to all kinds of topics that are so fascinating, from chemistry and biology, that before I was super overwhelmed with and wasn't sure if I wanted to do all of that. And then I took that ecology class, and then I have a biology degree now, and I have 20 plus fish tanks, and I get to talk about it on YouTube and podcast about it to all these wonderful fish folks, and it's just fantastic.
Yes, it is. You mentioned it. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I think, being introduced to it, that you have created and just now released is your care guides to the fish and our mistakes, and how to go about what has worked for us is your website. You've opened it up, and it is literally an encyclopedia.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. It's a good start to some care guides over the fish I've kept the most. Over the years, I've kept a handful of fish more than others, and it's things I've learned, things that maybe I should have learned earlier, ways to set up the tank, just general care facts to help who's ever wanting to keep those specific fish. And then again, on the website, it's ScienceGalAquatics.com. It's got our upcoming events of things that we're going to go to if you would like to meet us in person. It's got recommended products of things that I really enjoy to use in the fish room. And then it's got our shop. So if you want to check out some merchandise, it's all, but mainly the main focus, even down to the pictures, all the pictures on the website I took, they're fish that I've kept in the fish room through various years of keeping fish. And it's just, I hope it's a good care guide and a good jump start, or maybe a good refresher over some fish species that I've kept. And I just want to share what I've learned to, again, help put even more information out there about fish keeping. And just hopefully it's got some facts about nitrogen cycle and just various tips that maybe will help you, that are definitely things I should have learned earlier in my fish keeping career. But I just mainly the point is to
putting information out there
to
help and to help you not make some mistakes that you would inadvertently probably make, as we did.
And it's just to start. It's taken me a long time. It's probably embarrassing to say how long it's taken, but I am not a website designer. I do not know how to do these things. So it's taken me some time, energy, and effort to learn how to build a website. So I am super proud of it. I'm excited to share it with you. Again, you have to go to the actual address bar to type in ScienceGalAquatics.com, but feel free to go check it out whenever you can. I would appreciate it. But mainly getting back to the topic, I guess, is just for this episode, we just wanted to talk about some stigmas that I feel like harm people getting into the hobby. They just don't want to get into it for these reasons. And hopefully
and lack of education and or information.
Hopefully we talked someone into getting a fish tank and setting it up. Go through the episodes. We'll help you out and get it all set up correctly. And I'm excited just to share the information I've learned along the way. You never know what topic we're going to talk about. But for people not getting into, again, going over the stigmas, I think it's just, like you said, high maintenance. Aquariums are not high maintenance. My dogs, and going off my experience, and my cat are way higher maintenance than my fish tanks. Do they require maintenance? Yes. Is it high maintenance? No. And once I laid off constantly water changing and constantly scrubbing everything down, and actually laid off and took a step back and realized why we did some things, and water change when I need to versus every Tuesday, take out 50%, take everything to sink and scrub it down. It's helped my tanks get healthy. They're way better for it. Just actually making them lower maintenance in the sense of I'm not constantly cleaning them. And compared to the dogs and cats, they're just high maintenance. The cat's always doing something. She broke my glasses. She just looked at me and swatted my eyeglasses and they broke in half. I'm like, really? They're not constantly going to the vet, but when they do, it's at least $200. There's some of my tanks, they might have cost $200 to set up in the initial cost, maybe, if that. But the price in the initial setup, yes, there's going to be a cost, especially if you want to keep a larger fish or a fish that needs a larger tank, or you just want one versus something. I like the 40-gallon breeders myself. That's kind of my favorite. But it's not as high maintenance and as costly, I think, as some people just assume that they are.
Yeah, they perceive it to be
even
very
the dog,
expensive.
even compared to food. My fish food, like my silver air one upstairs, is definitely the fish that costs the most money to keep. And its food in a month doesn't even come close to the food that the dogs eat in a week.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Just on the food source. Yes. Does the electricity cost on the tank?
Yes.
The heater itself was probably $100, but the dogs and the cats cost us well over that.
Yeah, I think there's still just a big disconnect when it comes to what people perceive an aquarium to be versus the reward factor and the overall expense of it.
And to me, the reward factor is it relieves my stress. It soothes my anxiety. I get more family time out of it. I don't know how to describe it. After I graduated and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, I kind of felt lost, and I felt like it was kind of a gift that I stumbled onto the community. I got a group of friends I wasn't expecting, and it kind of gave me something to look forward to. I wouldn't say like a purpose, even though I feel like it is my purpose now in life to just educate over fish, because that is the best thing that I just love it. This is what I learned and I hope it helps. But it gave me a sense of something besides just cleaning and doing laundry for a while. And then it gave me a group of friends that I didn't even know. I get to talk to people in Canada. I get to talk to people in Oregon. I get to talk to people in Florida. Australia. Why? I would not have any reason why I would do that. And to me, it's just, I'm so thankful. And to me, that is worth more to me than $100 initial or $200 in a setup. It's really rewarding, and it's going to be rewarding in different ways. And some people, and I get it. I love cuddling with my dog and my cat. It's a different sense of an emotional attachment. It's a different sense of bond. To me, they're both equally as important in my life. But you can get all kinds of benefits from a fish tank, just like you can keeping other animals. And I don't think people are aware of that. You can get a fish that if you want it to come up and do barrel rolls and turn over so you can like rub its little tummy, get a flower horn, learn how to take care of, learn about their person. They're amazing. And I didn't even know about them. And if you literally want a puppy dog in a fish tank, in my world, I think of a flower horn. And I just don't think people are aware, and it stops a lot of people from getting tanks just from that stigma of, and just like the fish always die. Yes, are you going to go to the fish store? You're gonna have a fish that's probably going to have ick eventually. You're probably going to have one that's just a little weaker than most. But is it every single time? And once you know about the quarantine process and different things that you might encounter and how to better treat it, once you come with that knowledge and maybe get some experience and kind of understand why you shouldn't put a tank in water immediately if you don't have your nitrogen cycle, some of that just will go.
Again, that goes back to the big disconnect and the big misinformation and or lack of information.
Yeah. So hopefully maybe this helped. I hope it helped. I hope it was an interesting topic to listen to. I've been wanting to talk about it a while, and I think it was a good conversation.
Oh, it was an awesome conversation.
I don't really know how to describe it. I don't know if I don't think they're technically maybe underrated, because I was surprised about, I think they're the third most popular, but again, I definitely personally think a lot more people overlook fish that walk in the fish store than or just the overall pet store. They just look over it. They don't even give it a chance. I think there is quite a few people out there like that.
Oh, absolutely there is. Mm-hmm. I know there is. I've seen it, heard it, been a part of it as myself personally. Mm-hmm. But I guess I've went to the pet stores a million times. Never thought about picking up an aquarium. Yeah.
Well, hopefully this helped you, or if you have someone in mind that you wanted to share this conversation with, please pass it along and let's help get this information out there, because I think it is an interesting topic. And if we can together as a community just either get more information out there or help just make these stigmas not so commonly known and believed, I think it'd be just one step at a time. It'll be great for the hobby. But again, we invite you to check out ScienceGalAquatics.com and look around the website. And if you want to check out this podcast and watch it, don't forget about the memberships on ScienceGal Aquatics, the YouTube channel. So again, thank you for listening, and we're excited to come back next week, and we'll see what topic we have then. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, it'll be another wonderful dilemma. I guarantee it. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it.
If you sign up for memberships or you are a member, leave us a comment over there and let us know what you're interested in for a dilemma. I'm curious. But again, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.